Okay, let's clear up a few misconceptions. First of all, a little bit of scripture that I think gets misunderstood a lot. And one of the most common, I don't know if it's spiritual or not, concepts out there, it's mostly physical, at least the way it's portrayed, something called the law of attraction. And the book and the movie The Secret that emphasize the heck out of that. And really it's been done wrong in many different ways. I want to tighten that up and help people understand from a mental health perspective why I would use that as a teaching. And it's very useful. I have a chapter in my book on it. But it is often misused. And a lot of the concepts of spiritual teachings are misunderstood. So we're going to try to pull a lot of that stuff together today using, again, a bunch of different disciplines. Starting with Revelation 2:17. Now, in that, I'm paraphrasing, it says that once you've overcome, God will give you a new name. Okay? Once you overcome, God will give you a new name. Well, that's interesting. What is it that we're overcoming? And what is that new name thing? Okay? The verse also includes you're going to get some hidden manna. Okay? It's hidden again because it's not actually like bread or a sandwich or anything like that. Manna is when you're spiritually fed. Okay? When Jesus did the loaves and fishes, you know, that teaching where he fed the masses with just a little bit of bread and a little bit of fish. It's not about fish sandwiches. Okay? He fed people wisdom and spirit, and they left feeling filled. It's not about Jesus was a great chef. Okay? It's metaphors, it's parables, as it says in the Gospels that Jesus never spoke without a parable. Most of this stuff is. So this particular teaching in Revelation says God will give you a new name. Now we often think of that like the physical name. I'm Steve. Well, I have a spiritual name too, which is TJ. Maybe some other time we'll talk about that. But it's not like Norm from Cheers when Norm walked into the bar and everybody yells, Norm, right? It's not like you're going to go to heaven one day and everybody's going to be like, I won't say it, I'll pretend you're Danny. Danny! You know, people aren't, you're not going to go to heaven and people are going to recognize you as you were physically. That would be a physical way of looking at it. It's a new name because it's a spiritual thing. Now, we're still here on earth. I'm a mental health counselor. I use spirituality for both addiction and mental health work, and that's because it's extremely effective. That's why I use it. By no means do I think, even though I call my spiritual name TJ, I don't think anyone's going to greet me in heaven someday saying, hi, TJ. It's not that at all. I use it for a mental health technique, if you will, to differentiate that which is the flesh from that which is spirit. I draw these little spirit blobs all the time because I don't know how to draw a soul otherwise. But most people, especially most religious people, have a hard time getting spiritual teachings and extracting them from physical teachings. And they take spiritual teachings and they often make them physical, which is where everything goes haywire. It ends up becoming very judgmental, like there's a lot of physical things we're supposed to be doing to impress some sort of God, and it's not it at all. In fact, the emphasis is on spiritual things. Jesus was always talking about spirituality. He wasn't always talking about physicality. In fact, he was rarely talking about it. So what is this concept? When you overcome the ego, which is the Satan within, the voice inside your head that's limiting, that's punitive, that blames others and shames others, blames self and shames self. This is a common voice. We all have it. And it is Satan. It's not a little dude with a pitchfork. It's the voice inside our head. And it's a perspective. It's a perspective that we're in a physical world. It's a physical place. We're supposed to be doing physical things and, eventually get to spiritual development. That's not what that means. What we have, the physical self, is a temporary self, and the true self is the eternal self. It's a spiritual self. It's this blob thing. And we have to overcome that perspective that the ego is the true self. And that this is supposed to be doing something to impress somebody or whatever, or this thing can go to hell or whatever. This, as Jesus says, the flesh is nothing. It's the spirit that gives life. So it's a spiritual quote. And so I had a group member sitting here whose, can I say your soul name? Whose soul name is Maya, which is a great soul name. And she asked a very good question about the law of attraction. And so I want to clarify something, okay? When we screw spiritual teachings up a lot when we try to apply them physically, because we use words and we make them physical when they're actually meant to be spiritual, when they're metaphor and parable. And so this happens with the law of attraction all the time. So the law of attraction in The Secret has something called the creative process. In it, it says, first you must ask, 2 you must believe, then 3 you must receive. And people are using this all over the world to try to get stuff. Like it's a physical process to try to get yourself a new job or a new relationship or improve your health. Now I address this very directly in the book, and if I had 2 hours I could talk about how the physics directly applies to this. and how there's some probability to this. It's totally true that if I ask for a pizza or a pizza to be delivered, I can easily believe that's going to come. Next thing you know, a guy's knocking on our door and we have a pizza to share. Okay? That's a creative process. I could take it up a notch or two and, ask, say, for an application for a job, and then I can apply for that job and have a good interview and believe I'm going to get it. Next thing you know, I'm hired. Ooh, I just used the secret. And as an athlete or as working as a former sports writer, it works in sports all the time. I want to make this free throw, okay? And I believe I'm going to be able to do it. Of course, the more you believe in something, the more likely you're going to succeed. Next thing you know, you're making the free throw. I mean, this works with everything, right? Makes sense. Now, heavy emphasis on here is this believing thing. In physical terms, it's confidence. But there's a whole lot of people who believe in themselves that aren't succeeding at things. And there's, a lot of people run for president. They might really believe it, but not everybody can get that. It's limited, okay? And so it's not always going to work. Think about this with relationships. Ask someone on a date, truly believe they're going to say yes, and then they reject you. Next thing you know, you're a stalker, okay? And of course, the people that are proponents of this would say, well, you didn't believe enough, or you didn't believe the right way, or whatever, okay? The fact is, no, it doesn't work in the flesh all the time. It works sometimes. It's probabilities. That's what superposition is all about. Probabilities. It might work, it might not. You can improve your chances for a free throw, to make a free throw by believing, but it's not always going to go in. You can improve your chances to, get someone to say yes if you ask someone on a date. You can also improve your health. Get a cancer diagnosis. Ask for a certain healing. Believe, right? You can increase the likelihood of your survival, but it's no guarantee. And so it's limited in the flesh, and it's easily illustrated by the absurdity when you apply this to tragic situations. And you almost never hear people apply this to bad situations, like 9/11. Like everyone involved that day in the Twin Towers was asking for planes to fly in their buildings, and they really believed it was going to happen, so that's what happened. In the movie, they talk about, I'm going to get in your face, and yeah, if you have bad stuff going on, you attracted it to you. Oh man, that is so limited. It also is basically taking victims and shaming them because they did this to themselves, okay? Now, to be clear, there is some application to this. It's low grade, okay? C plus maybe, not especially good, but it can definitely work for sometimes for some people. But it's actually a spiritual teaching, and I'll prove that in a second. Now, to apply this correctly is to look at a concept in Kabbalah called the equivalence of form. I already drew it for you, but the equivalence of form is basically this. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. The equivalence of form is we're supposed to match our energy to that of the Creator. That's how we become equivalent. We can't be physically equivalent. Are any of us physically equivalent? Of course not. Not even snowflakes are physically equivalent, at least that's the rumor. Everything in the physical world is a little bit different, okay? And there is no equivalence of form in the flesh. The equivalence comes in the spiritual form. My energy and your energy can match the energy of the Creator or the source of all of this. And once we do that, once we get alignment with the universe like that, that's equivalent. That's where the law of attraction comes in. Quite nicely illustrated by the 51st verse of the Tao Te Ching, which says that the Tao connects all beings to the source, which is what I just said, to the Creator, to God, okay? Takes on a physical body and then lets circumstances complete it. Well, that's interesting. See, we all come from the Tao. We all come from that source, a Creator God, whatever works best for you. And we come into form, take on a physical body. Spirit first, physical second. When you overcome the obsession with the human ego, the physical self, you've overcome, you get a new name, okay? That just means a spiritual name. I sure as heck hope this doesn't go to heaven. I want a new body. I want a spiritual body. Well, that's good because that's what's happening. The physical self has circumstances that complete it. That's from the Tao. What does that mean? Well, it is the law of attraction. What we're doing is attracting stuff into our life on a regular basis to teach us that we're spirit beings. This is why Jesus teaches, to those who much has been given, much is expected. And if you know your master's will and you don't make ready, you'll receive a severe beating. Because look what Jesus attracted into his life. A crucifixion, tortured and murdered. Well, that's because that's where he was at. He needed the adversity to demonstrate to us we sometimes have to go through adversity. So many people are trying to use the secret to make their life easy. Good luck with that. That's a direct violation of the first noble truth. You're here, you're going to suffer. It's unavoidable. We're all going to go through some bad stuff. And then people try to use the secret to never experience any pain. Again, it's probably going to become more painful during the spiritual process. It doesn't mean it gets easier. The law of attraction is about attracting spirit into our lives. And the rising of the true self and all of that. Ultimately, the crucifixion of the ego. That's what's happening here. This isn't some sort of playland, as they say in the movie The Secret. There's some sort of buffet out there to make your life great. Good luck with that. You could try it. It usually doesn't work. And it's horrible when it comes to people who have been victimized, okay? Well, you attracted that rape or murder into your life or something like that. That's horrible. That's also not true. The fact is we do have adversities, but those adversities are spiritual opportunities. They're a chance to grow. And it's a probability. No one's attracting something like a plane flying into the building or a rape or a murder, okay? No one's attracting that. Sometimes crap just happens. That's superposition. Even Einstein was able to prove that there was randomness in the matrix that they're in. Sometimes shit just happens, okay? And so this is the actual secret here in Matthew 21:22. Jesus speaking. You know what he says? Whatever you ask for in prayer, believing you'll receive. Well, that's interesting. He uses the exact same words, and they didn't quote him. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believing you'll receive, is verse 21:22 of Matthew. Okay? And what does that mean? On a spiritual level. See, your heart in prayer is always asking for something. You're either desiring the flesh or you're desiring the spirit. You either want to win and compete with people or seek unity, right? And the universe, if you will, or God, the creator, the Tao, the rules are that it's obvious to the universe what it is that you're seeking. And so it comes to you naturally. Circumstances will tell you what you're craving, what you're desiring. And so you are asking in prayer with your heart. It ain't English. It's not words, okay? You don't need to write it down on a piece of paper because you're broadcasting it to the universe on a regular basis, that which you're craving and desiring. And if it's just physical stuff and popularity and status and money and stuff like that, if that's what you're doing, well, you're going to get a mixed bag. And that's going to disappoint you, again, to the first noble truth, dukkha. You're going to have some suffering and it's going to be unsatisfying. And then you're going to realize, well, that ain't it. I should go looking elsewhere, seeking you'll find. And you go look at elsewhere. You try something else for a while, also physical focused. It'll disappoint you. All things in the flesh do. Doesn't matter how good your relationships are physically, it's going to end some point, usually in the case of death. Boy, isn't that sad. But if what you practiced is asking in prayer and believing that you're a spiritual being, guess what comes to you? Virtues, okay? Ask for forgiveness. Ask for patience. Ask for mercy. Perhaps most important of all, ask for wisdom. Because then it'll guide you, it'll come to you. That's what you have to ask for in prayer. Jesus isn't some sort of Santa Claus who's giving out a bunch of physical gifts because you ask for a big bag of gold. The key is asking for that which you actually are. We have to overcome the desire of the flesh. Gee, if I do this, I'll be popular and I'll make lots of money and all that stuff. That's important to the ego. That's the exact thing you're supposed to overcome. Because we don't get over here to spirit land, entering through the narrow gate, unless we ask for the right thing. I would like to come to know you, Christ, or Buddha, or Muhammad, or Krishna, Spirit, the Tao, the Source, whatever you want to call it. I want to come to know truth with a capital T. Ask that, and that comes to you. And that's the law of attraction. It's also a guarantee. Jesus says, seek and you will find, and he's not talking about your car keys, okay? Although that's largely true. The more you look for your car keys in the flesh, the more likely you'll find them, okay? But are you guaranteed to? No. But if you seek the true self, you will find the true self. If you seek for the unity in another person, you will find it. If you seek peace inside your heart, independent of physical stuff, you'll find it. Good luck doing that in Congress, though, okay? Because that's arguing about stuff. And everybody's got their opinions about what you're supposed to be doing, and you're supposed to be do this and do that, and argue. It doesn't sound very peaceful to me. Blessed are the peacemakers means if I ask for peace to come to me, it will come to me. And if I ask to see how it all works together in a divine way, I can see the yin and yang of things. And I can see how this facilitates that. And how we're in the world of contrast and duality. And we need the dark to complement the light. And it's something that everybody's going through, but only some people are seeking it in the true way. If we look at it from the physical way, it's going to throw us off. The key is to look at it in the spiritual way. And we'll end with this concept from Course in Miracles. It's in the introduction. If anyone's ever read that, I highly recommend it. It will greatly facilitate your understanding of things, okay? But the intro is sufficient. Just go read the first page. It's just a paragraph or two. And in it, it says that the curriculum, what we're experiencing here, is required. Now, I think that's hilarious because most of us don't realize there's a curriculum. Oh, but there is one. I've already drawn it. And the answer is doing the secret of the law of attraction correctly. That's the curriculum. 1, you must learn that you are actually a spiritual being. 2, you have to conquer the ego in that process in order to become the true self or realize you're the true self or awaken again to the true self. You have to conquer the ego. Guess what? That comes with tons of adversity. Because there's a lot of damage, I don't like that word. There's a lot of stuff we have to peel back, layers of belief and ignorance that we have to uncover again or to get rid of in order to realize what we are. A lot of our conditioning, and a lot of it is religion and the differences that we have with each other, okay? So that's part of the curriculum. And that often requires all the virtues to be mastered. We have to be patient all the time and forgiving all the time, not just sometimes. We have to have awareness all the time. And that's what the great perfection is, Dzogchen in Buddhism, is to experience the peace flowing through you, or at least know that's what you need to be working on all the time. And then that works like a charm, like a magnet will come to you. Circumstances will complete you. And in this line it says, where curriculum, in this paragraph where it says the curriculum is required, it says that all you can do is control the time it takes for you to complete the curriculum. It's like we're all given a test. And you have X amount of, you have eternity really to finish the test. Some people focus, some people don't. If you focus on these concepts and practice attracting patience and love and virtue and unity and all that kind of stuff into your life, it'll come to you quicker. And it's also going to attract circumstances to allow you to play around with that, right? Like car accident or traffic jams. Car accidents will teach us stuff too, right? And relationship adversity. All the trials and tribulations we have. Why does James say to consider it a joy when you face adversities of all kinds? Because that's the conditions that Tao was talking about. Whatever adversity you're facing, it doesn't mean you attract it into your life on the physical level because you're bad. It's because it's a challenge, an opportunity for you to learn how to do this, to conquer the ego. And again, that's our collective destiny.